Got a 2011 Toyota Sienna with a bad alternator. Just got dropped off here by the tow truck. They were stranded and we were able to get it jump started, but the battery is definitely not charging. We're only showing about 11.5 volts even with it running. So I've got the battery hooked up to the charger right now, but let's get in here and I'll show you how quickly and easily we can change that out. Hey, what's up YouTube? Dan the Fix-It Man. Got another quick video here for you. I'm going to show you how to change your alternator in a 2011 Toyota Sienna with the 2GR-FE engine. This is the V6. Now the owner said that they had this done once before, but it was probably more than 10 years ago and this alternator's just decided to give up. Now I've got the battery charger here and it's a fairly new battery, 225, but let's go ahead and just get that completely topped off. Now of course we're going to disconnect the battery to get started, but I did want to let you know there's a couple different ways to do this, and some people say you have to remove the entire front grille or this cross member. I've seen other people do it with just removing the fan shroud. Of course, you do have to take off this intake and the coolant hose. And I've also seen people take off this coolant hose right here, the lower one. We're going to try to do it without removing this lower coolant hose. So let's just get right into it and get this done. All right, now the first thing we need to do is disconnect the battery. I'm just going to take off the ground cable here. Just put that down where it can't make contact. And I'm going to reconnect our charger so that by the time we're done doing this job, this battery should be in good shape. Now I'm going to take off the air intake here, just two 10mm bolts. Now we can pull this air intake off, but just make sure you pull out these little vacuum lines first. There's two clipped up here at the top, and then they're clipped right here, and then down here below. And then you should be able just to kind of take this off and maneuver it out of here and set this out of the way. Now I'm going to remove this one 10mm bolt that holds the coolant overflow in place. The overflow hose is just clipped in the bottom. We can pull that out. Just clipped in these two little spots. All right. And just pull this hose out of the fan shroud as well. It's just clipped in along the top here. Now I'm just going to pull this overflow tube off of the radiator carefully, and then we'll just set this out of the way. Now it looks like our overflow is pretty empty, but if you've got a lot of fluid in there, you're going to spill a little bit. Now it's not a bad idea to get a drain pan underneath here, because the next thing we're going to do is take off this upper radiator hose. Now it's completely up to you if you want to drain the radiator ahead of time or let some of the coolant out. It's a little bit less messy, I think, if you do it that way. So that's what I'm going to do. You can see the radiator petcock right down there. Now I'm going to loosen the radiator cap so that that coolant will flow out of there a little bit easier and quicker. All right, now I'm just tightening this petcock because we've drained down enough of that coolant. All right, now we should be able to pull off this upper radiator hose without spilling too much. I'm just going to squeeze this clamp and push it back a little bit. Sometimes these have the little piece on them that will re-lock together. There we go. All right, if that doesn't come loose, you can just grab a little pick. Just kind of get underneath there and break that seal. All right, just tuck this out of the way. All right, now we can disconnect this main connector right here into our radiator fan like that. And we're gonna squeeze all these clips together and take this harness out. Then we can take out the two bolts that hold the shroud to the radiator. They're also 10mm. We just need to pull this harness right here off of the shroud. It's just clipped in. See if I can use one of these trim tools. There we go. All right, now we need to squeeze these two little clips right here together to separate the shroud from the radiator. Now just carefully pull this shroud with fan up and out. Just pull up on this shroud carefully just to kind of loosen it from below, and then carefully pull this up and out. Okay, I kind of had to push the middle part out a little bit to flex it, but we got it out. Now here it's not a bad idea to throw a piece of cardboard here in the front of the radiator just to protect that, prevent me from hitting it over here. That'll work. I just put a little bungee cord here to hold this cardboard in place. Now we're just going to lift the vehicle up a little bit so I can take the front passenger tire off. I just need to pull out these two 10mm bolts to take this plastic cover off. There's usually a little plastic snap in here too, but that's missing. This is our tensioner right here, and I'm just going to use a 14mm ratcheting wrench. Now we just need to turn this, and then the nice thing about this one is it's got a little hole here. You can lock that in place. So see, I'm just gonna turn this counterclockwise to relieve the tension, and I'm gonna stick an Allen wrench through that hole and then let go, and it's holding that. So now the belt is loose and we can go up top and take it off. All right, and then we just need to reach down here and pull this belt off of the alternator pulley. There we go. All right, now we can take off this top engine cover. It just snaps down. Set that out of the way. Now we just need to unclip this harness from the little metal bracket. I'm just using a screwdriver to push this tab over and then just pull on it. It should just slide right off. Same with this one down here. Sometimes you can get these with your finger, but just using a little screwdriver, pull back on that tab and then just slide that clip off of that little bracket. All right, now we can take out the connector here for the alternator. Just push in on the side, wiggle that out like that. And then I'm just gonna grab another pick here to pull this back. Just a little rubber cover. And you see that will expose a 10mm nut that attaches the main power cable to the alternator. All right, now on this one, I'm gonna use a Coolant nut grip socket. It just kind of helps hold on to that nut and prevents that from falling. See that right there? The nut stays inside this socket until you pull it out. That's going to come in handy for the other bolts that we have to do as well. Now I do want to be able to move this harness a little bit more, so I'm going to disconnect the camshaft position sensor up here at the top. Just push in on this little tab and wiggle that off like that. I'm going to pull this one here as well. Just this little clip that mounts this harness to the top of the engine. Yeah, that's definitely going to help us a little bit more. Pull this harness just a little bit back without stressing it. Now, of course, our AC line is still going to be in the way, but I think we can navigate and get this out. All right, now this bolt that I'm taking out, this is a 12mm socket I have on here. It's deep underneath here. Now I'm going to show you a picture of this with the iPhone or a little bit of a video clip. So you just need to loosen this one and take it out. I'm using that nut grip socket so that we're not going to drop it. Just using a wobble fix extension on here as well. A little bit by feel, but I'm going to show a close-up here of this bolt that I'm taking out just so you guys can see it. Okay, I think we got it. And you see that right there? That socket holds the bolt in place so we don't end up dropping it. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to use a 14mm deep nut grip socket, and kind of by feel, unfortunately here, I'm going to try to remove the lower alternator bolt. Once you feel the pulley of the alternator, just use your fingers and just kind of walk down until you feel a bolt head, and that's the one you need. That's where it's at. It's kind of by feel, unfortunately, a little bit, but once you get on it, it's not too bad. Okay, we got it. Now I did switch up to the shallower nut grip here because I didn't want to get into a situation where I was backed up against the fender wall. Now we can take out the top alternator bolt here. Now this radiator hose is kind of in the way, but we can still get it done. Okay, I'm going to try this one here. This is this double wobble universal. It looks like that'll work. There's the top one. All right, now I'm just going to pry the alternator out of this little cradle up here in the top. This harness, I guess we can push it over here to the side. Okay, we got it loose. Now we need to take a look at our bracket here in the back. That little plastic snap on that harness is usually plugged into this bracket, but this has been changed once before. The owner told me they did about 10 years ago, so we don't have to worry about that. If it is connected, sometimes you'll have to either try to disconnect it or loosen the bracket or remove it from the alternator before you take it out. But I think we're good to just try to wiggle this around and fish it out. I guess I could have disconnected the AC compressor down below too. I've seen some people do that, but I think we should be able to get this out though without doing it. Now I guess I could take this bracket off if it's in the way, but I think we'll still be able to get this up and out. And there it is, we got the old one out. Now I know some people disconnect the AC harness here as well, but we were able to squeeze that out without doing so. You can see right there that threaded hole, that's where we took out that 12mm bolt. And right back there is a little plastic clip that usually goes into that bracket as well. In our case, this alternator has been changed once before, and so it was not pushed through or pushed in. That can be a pain sometimes, and so sometimes people will remove the bracket from the alternator. You know, once you get it pried out a little bit, you kind of got to reach back in there and disconnect the other 12mm bolt to take that bracket off, which we do have to take it off and transfer it to the new one, but just a little bit of a heads up if you run into that. That's that little plastic clip. Most people don't even attempt to reclip that back into that bracket, and I'm not going to do that either. Here's our new alternator. This is remanufactured from O'Reilly, and we just need to take this bracket off of the old alternator and transfer it over. And that looks like it's just a little 12mm bolt here. All right, now we can feed the new alternator down. There we go. That really wasn't too bad. Now we can get these bolts all started. I'm gonna just try to feed the top one in first. All right, now I'm gonna try to feed this one in just like this with this long ratchet and that nut grip socket. See if I can use my hand to guide it in place. All right, I got the bottom bolt and the top bolt in. Now we're just threading these in loosely for right now. Not gonna torque those down. So I got the top one and the bottom one started. Now we need to get this one right here. All right, now I'm kind of cheating here. I'm using this inspection camera and I'm just filming it so you guys can see what's going on. But you see how that bracket and that hole down there is kind of lined up? You can kind of wiggle that by wiggling the alternator, and hopefully this will stay still and allow me to get this bolt started. Now, of course, I am using the Koken nut grip socket here. Otherwise, that could be very difficult. You know, you can maybe tape it, but there it is. Now this isn't that hard to get to, it's just it's really hard to see. So I was just using the little inspection camera, not only to help line it up, but to kind of show you guys as well. Now same with this upper alternator bolt, let's go ahead and get it snug. Same with the bottom one. All right, now we can reroute the belt or wrap it back around the new alternator here. Just make sure that those grooves on the pulleys are all lined up. Okay, then we can put this main connector cable back on and the new nut that it came with. Just make it snug. And just slide that rubber cover back over it. Just kind of push it until you feel it pop in place. And then we can plug this harness back in until you hear it click. All right, now I went to connect this harness and I realized I didn't transfer the bracket over from the old alternator. So let's do that real quick. It's just this one right here. And we'll just attach this to the new alternator. It's just a little 10mm bolt. All right, now we can reconnect all of these little plastic snaps that put this harness back together, including this one up here. Just line them up and push them down. Going to reconnect the camshaft position sensor. This harness right here just snaps back in. There we go. Make sure we don't have anything else. We did not disconnect the AC or anything like that, so I think that's it. All right, I'm going to take this bungee cord off and take out our piece of cardboard. Now we're going to very carefully put our fans and shroud back in. Just watch what you're doing here. There's little tabs at the bottom that have to line up. I'm going to take this radiator cap, set that out of the way. We're almost there. Now, I don't know if you can see down there at the bottom, but there's these little slots, and that's where the shroud has to slide into. All right, now we can put this harness back in place. Just snap it into the shroud. Just 3 little snaps. And then we'll plug it back in. Now we can grab this upper radiator hose and slide that back onto the radiator. You see this clamp locked, and sometimes that happens, so we're just going to have to carefully unlock it. Just got to watch your fingers here so that you don't get accidentally snapped in place here. It's happened to me a few times. There we go. Now I'll just slide that back up where it was. There we go. We can put these bolts back in that hold the shroud to the radiator. All right, then we can put the overflow hose back underneath here and reconnect it. This clips right into place here in the shroud. And then these little clips underneath, just push the hose back in. Guess we didn't need to take it out of here. There it is. Then we use the 1 bolt that holds that in place. And just make that snug. All right, let's go back down below. Now you just want to make sure that the belt is lined up on every single pulley. And then we're going to use this 14mm wrench to release the tension here and pull out that Allen wrench that was holding the tension. And just slowly let that back. It's a good idea just to double check all the pulleys, just make sure that that belt is fully seated in all those grooves. Then we can put this cover back on, get these 2 bolts started. Again, there's usually a little snap that goes down here, but it's missing. Not really a big deal. We'll just leave that off. All right, now we can put the tire back on. And we can let the vehicle down. All right, now we can snap the engine cover back on. Just line it up, push it down. Now we can put the airbox back in. Just take note, we have 2 openings we need to line up down here. A lot of times you just kind of wiggle this in a little bit of an angle. Okay, just make sure that you're able to line that up. And then we've got 2 bolts that hold this in place. All right, now we still need to reconnect the battery, but I'm going to fill this up first. I'm just going to use this little funnel with an adapter on here. So we can get this cooling system all filled up and bled out. I'm just going to use this right here. It says Toyota Lexus Scion. It's already pre-mixed. Remember, I already have the petcock down below closed, so we shouldn't be spilling any on the ground. All right, now I'm going to pull off the battery charger cables here. We should be charged up enough. at this point. And I'm going to reconnect our ground cable here. All right, well, I'm going to leave this in here and let's go start it up now that the battery's connected and make sure everything's working properly. Looks like we still got some coolant in here, but we'll just let that run for a minute and see how much more it will take. Let's grab our voltmeter here and see what kind of voltage we're getting here at the battery. Ah, there you go, 13.64. So the alternator is charging, that's great. Just realized I forgot to clip these vacuum hoses back in, so we'll do that real quick. 2 down here at the bottom. And then these right here. And we'll put our little battery cover back on. All right, I'm just gonna pop that lid off here, and you see we have this little thing we put in here. It just plugs this, and I'm gonna put the rest of this into our overflow. We got just a little bit more. I'm gonna go ahead and dump it in. And just snap that cap back on. And we'll take this back off and put our radiator cap on. All right, we are done. Let me go start it up one more time, make sure everything looks good. Just double check that one more time. There you go. And you're done. You know, it's a pretty quick and easy job as long as you just follow this one thing at a time, one step at a time, and just take your time when trying to get to that bracket. That 12mm bolt was kind of difficult, but I think the key was leaving the other 2 bolts loose, so we were able to wiggle that alternator and get that in. But we are good. We got the coolant topped off and everything looks great. It's charging just like it should, and this is now good to give back to the owner. I hope you guys like this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't mind. That does help me out. And of course, I'll get a link in the description to some of the parts and tools used in the video as well. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.